Welcome ladies and gentlemen, and today's video is going to be looking at the Queen controlling the King, and it is of course the King Tiger, and it is played by Clara Super. And yes, this replay is one of the most disgusting tier 7 replays. Of course, this is a King Tiger down at tier 7, or at least with some reduced capacity compared to the tier 8 version of the Tiger 2. So what does this vehicle offer? Well, it has a 240 alpha damage with 1700 damage per minute, which is down at tier 7 on a heavy tank is not awful. You've got a 7.36 second base reload, which of course can come down with some of the perks and equipment that you can put on this vehicle, but essentially what you're going to see is this tank dominate in this matchup. And of course, when you are playing up against tier 5s and 6s, there's no real doubt that that would be the case. Now, you see Clara not deciding to fully commit against the enemy tanks. The KV2 comes around the corner, which is pretty much not going to do a lot. The T25/2 is sat in the back, and the KV2 bounces off of Clara here. Now you're seeing her use the top tier gameplay mechanics, which are of course using where vehicles are typically sat over here in the bushes, and of course using the indicators that you can see, which is what the best players in World of Tanks will do. You know, it seems really simple, but effectively the best players just do the basics every single time. They do it every single game, they don't forget, and of course they have the ability both in knowledge and skill and knowledge of both the map and not just their tank and all of the other tanks in the game to really have the replays that you're seeing in this best replays and tank review playlist of the kind of PC World of Tanks, which is of course why you're probably watching this. Now you're seeing that there is the T25 still sat in that bush, and you can see Clara just continually hitting it. Now you're not seeing the round splash on the floor, which means that you're probably seeing the rounds actually hit, which is nice to actually see. Now 2000 damage has been blocked by the King Tiger, or at least the tier 7 version, which is really nice. This is the captured King Tiger for those of you that maybe don't know, but effectively what this vehicle can do comparatively to the tier 8 version is be a tier lower, having similar sort of armour, at least it holds up to that degree. It's basically a better version of the Tiger 1, well, at least in terms of armour model. Maybe there's a few discrepancies with regards to the gun handling, but still 0.35 base dispersion on this vehicle means that it is fairly accurate, and so you can pump up that damage pretty nicely consistently at these long ranges, and you've seen that within this replay, racking up 2000 damage within the first 3 minutes of the game, bearing in mind that this tank has a little bit of a trundling speed, 38 kilometers an hour top speed limit, which kind of limits it somewhat in the game to be able to be super influential. But what you kind of rely on in this vehicle is just that the opponents come towards you, which is exactly what you want. Now you're seeing loads and loads and loads of tanks just bouncing off continuously actually, and even the KV-1S with its lovely heat rounds, or at least the terrible rounds that vehicle has on the Top Gun, is just bouncing off as well. Now I don't know how he didn't actually get spotted when he fired, which was surprising considering you're seeing the other vehicles actually bounce, but the KV2 still bouncing off, obviously not realising that maybe it's time to load some HE and actually try and just splash him and get him out of this position. But yeah, nonetheless, you're seeing the enemy team basically getting stonewalled by the King Tiger here. No one has been able to actually successfully pen other than fire a bit of HE, which does like, what, 30 damage. So it's nothing really too dangerous to really deal with here. And the KV2 and all of the other vehicles are just basically giving free block damage within this replay. So yeah, really stellar performance so far, and that definitely continues throughout this game. Now, it's kind of a bit of a boring start to the game, other than the fact that you just basically sat here laughing at everyone. Yeah, you're kind of basically just laughing at everyone, and that's kind of what the King Tiger is all about, at least when you come top tier. And trust me, that does not happen all too often in World of Tanks, so when it does, you best make the most of it, and that's what you're seeing Clara do here, and why she's able to have such a great replay. Not purely based on the tank, definitely, but you're seeing everything done right, and why kind of vehicles like this in the right hands are able to have the replays that you're seeing, and you can of course see everyone just trying to get at least one shot, one sort of angle where they can actually do something, but it's just not happening. And the amount of wrecks that you've been seeing, of course blind fires on things like the T25/2 have actually just removed them from the game entirely. You're seeing that the KV2 has fully kind of pushed up, but it's probably going to be to no avail, and the KV1S has also done the same, pushing up to these rocky areas. Now, you don't know what's at the back, there still could be some things, but regardless of that, the first round actually lands, being the T34-85, or at least first decent successful penetration does land, which is kind of annoying, but nonetheless a round that you would expect at some point to actually come in. Now, the KV1S has resorted to firing HE, which is why you're starting to see rounds actually land and deal damage. Now, the AMX, well, ELC is just basically crapping his pants at this point when you're seeing a tier 7 with a nice meaty gun and the reload that is actually able to deal with you. Only problem is the ALC is a little bit of a small boy. Now, the ELC does the misplay of actually not trying to sit up close to Clara here, which would have probably been the better play. Use them as the means to avoid taking any more shells. But nonetheless, he's just trying to run rings, and unfortunately for the AMX, gets taken out for it. Now, 4,300 damage done in a tier 7 is a very good game. No one is ever going to complain. And then you, in addition, add in 7,880 damage blocked in a tier 7. Makes it a whole lot better. And of course, with 866 assistance to top it up. And of course, we haven't either seen any of the kind of blind fire damage that has happened in this game, so you can see that the T34 is on a few damaging hits lower than what you would have expected him to be on, considering he basically been undetected for the whole game. But nonetheless, you also saw that the T25/2 was also over here. Now then, what happens in this kind of this kind of matchup is that the enemy team just try and run, and when you're coming up against a tier 7 that has fairly decent DPM and of course isn't going to get stonewalled by you, yeah, there's no chance of running. Although this is the first time that we're really seeing bouncing or missing of a lot of the shots in this game, of course on probably the easiest target that you can see, the back of the T34. Now, he does manage to finally evade a load of shells, but not the final one, which lands successfully into the back of him, which is of course what you want. Now then, progressing towards the enemy base, there are 3 enemies left alive with 2,600 hit points left remaining on their vehicles, which of course can be absorbed quite nicely down into this bottom left hand corner, where the 4,600 damage that has already been done by Clara plus whatever has been done blind could stack up even more. Now, the M3 or M2Y that sat in the open is definitely fearing for his life, along with the fact that there is the VK that sat up on the top, who successfully lands a nice shell into thin air, and of course Clara managing to successfully land one straight into the front of him. And Pens, of course, being that this tank actually has very nice penetration at 203 pen with this vehicle at this point in time. And we can actually see the premium penetration of the vehicle being 237mm, 202 on the standard rounds, or 203 I should say, which is more than enough for a tier 7 to pretty much go through most things that you were going to meet, even tier 9s. You may struggle against some of the heavy tanks, but nonetheless it's not really going to be that much of a problem. But you can definitely see what this vehicle is all about, trying to be the kind of aggressor, the one that kind of pushes forward, and especially in these sort of games you do feel like a top dog. That's exactly why this replay is quite possibly one of the best tier 7 replays I think I've seen, or at least in terms of being able to successfully win and just stonewall the opponents. There's not very many chances in World of Tanks that you have to just sit there and block, like, what, nearly 6 times the hit points of your vehicle. Yeah, that very rarely happens, and it's so much fun, and so much fun to watch as well at the same point. So it's exciting to see that not only has Clara managed to do 5,200 damage shown, plus 8,000 blocked and 900 assistance, you'll also notice up in the top left hand corner the 10 kills have been claimed by him, or by her, I should say, which is amazing. So not only that, a Paul's medal is on the table, which is crazy to think as well. And with only one vehicle left alive, being the 45 TP, the enemy tier 7 heavy tank that probably, well, most definitely hasn't had the same impact, still having picked up 6 enemies destroyed on there for their team. It's probably still not enough for to match that of Clara here, and with the damage that Clara has also done. Now this 45 TP, 1200 hit points remaining in the game. He is going to be on full health, or at least I'm pretty sure that's the full health of a 45 TP. It's been a while since I've delved down into tier 7, but nonetheless, he's going to progress towards him. The base is, of course, where the 45 TP was last seen. He's probably going to be in this region behind, looking up in these areas, just trying to remain kind of somewhat defensive, and of course destroy anyone that decides to come forward. His team, 604 hit points here for Clara's team, and yeah, that means that they are all pretty much a one-shot should the 45 TP managed to land a shell into them. I think the 45 TP has the 320 alpha damage, which means that they are going to be very much in one-shot territory, which means that if they all go one by one, their hit points are going to get removed pretty quickly. And with the Churchill 7 and the T1 Heavy being such a slow, lumbering ogre within World of Tanks, it's very unlikely that they're going to be able to kind of come in quick enough to be able to remove the remaining hit points left on the 45 TP. Now, you're seeing here that the 45 TP does actually get spotted. He's taken a nice meaty hit point, 638 damage left on the 45 TP. It appears that he was actually kind of undetectedly hit during this game. Don't quite know what by, but he lost 562 hit points, or 568 hit points. But yeah, in this game, of course, just side scraping with the Capture King Tiger, landing rounds into the side of the 45 TP. And of course, the 45 TP does fire, which means you can get one more round off. Not quite, as the returns around that corner. Now you're seeing the 45 TP not be an idiot and not, of course, come outside on again. It does try and land a nice shell into the bottom lower plate of the Capture King Tiger, but it doesn't go to any avail, and it is now time for him to push forward against this 45 TP. 45 TP, of course, bounces another shell. Oh god, it's looking like a bit of squeaky bum time at the end of the game, but yeah, hopefully a nice shell lands, and it does. The 45 TP does have to be aggressive now. He does have to land the shot, otherwise they are in a bit of a stalemate, and luckily, well, somewhat luckily, but he pokes around the corner. Clara manages to secure the final damaging hit. Now then, what an amazing round of World of Tanks. A unbelievable end as well. 1-on-1 with the 45 TP, with his team nowhere really to be seen. And of course, finally pulling it out of the bag. Now let's see what this tank actually ended up doing in the final results screen, and I'll see you there. Well then, it was a mad one. 395,000 silver earned within this game, which is beyond belief, really. 8,171 experience, a Paul's medal, a cool-headed medal, a mastery badge, of course, bruiser, hand of god, duelist, fire for effect, shell proof, top gun, high caliber, steel wall. An amazing round of World of Tanks. 10 medals for this battle, 2,500 experience. That is one of the highest, if not the highest experience that I have seen in World of Tanks that isn't like the Churchill 3. Yeah, that is unbelievable. 11 kills within this vehicle as well. The King Tiger being an absolute king in this game. And of course, managing to deal nearly 7,000 damage in a tier 7. Wow. What a replay. Thank you very much, Clara Super, for uploading this to the What Replays website. It was an honour to actually watch. If you want to check out any more replays like this one, then of course be sure to check out the playlist for the World of Tanks PC replays, showcasing the best replays on World of Tanks. And of course, if you want to check out any other videos that have come up on the channel, this is the most recent one on the left-hand side of the screen. Thank you for once again, and I hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you want, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.